Welcome to Patriarchy.com, where we help you become a more virtuous leader for your family. On this channel, I answer all your questions and comments in video form every day. I also document our progress towards strengthening society by rebuilding the patriarchy one family at a time. It's only been a week since starting this new channel, and we've had good growth so far, up to 312 subscribers. So let's keep that rolling. Make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification bell so you get the daily updates for the videos, and please share them with anybody you think might benefit from them. On the main channel, you'll be able to find more long-form content helping you go into depth on specific ways in which you might like to improve your marriage. So make sure you head over there and subscribe to that too. So let's get into the comments for today. What I'm going to do is just make sure we go all the way down to the bottom for the comments since yesterday and work my way back to the top one by one. Now, one thing to point out, there's a lot of people leaving comments who aren't actually subscribed. So watch this. If I just put a filter on so that we see who's actually a public subscriber to the channel, watch what happens. All these comments here get reduced down to just a couple. So add that filter in. Who's a public subscriber? Only 2. So many of you are leaving comments, but you aren't subscribed. Now, when things get busier, I'll be prioritizing comments from subs. So make sure you go do that right now. Hit the button. I'll take that filter off and we'll get back to the questions. So, first one. Thank you for the video and the content in general. How to handle celibacy when you feel a vocation for marriage, but do not have a girlfriend, fiance yet. What are the best things to do when you have no plans yet? And that comes from Louis Levine. Right, Louis, that's a great question. Let's think a bit more about why it's a good situation to be in to strengthen you as a man, rather than being one that you should just complain about and wish your way out of. The reason why God allows our sexual desires and instincts to awaken at an age before we're actually ready for marriage and acting on them properly is so that we can actually learn to be in control of them. It's a good way to prepare yourself for marriage, because if you're the kind of guy who can't control his sexual impulses, then when you get married, that's going to be disastrous for you because you're not going to be able to stay faithful to your wife. So see this preparation before marriage as critical for strengthening you as a man for marriage. It makes perfect sense, right? So what you want to do is master those impulses so that when you're married, they don't cause a problem for you. So see it as like training. And in terms of how to do that, follow the teachings and precepts of the church. So try to remember that even your thoughts matter. It's not just your actions, but your thoughts too. So go to confession, even for just venial sins, to really help you stamp out those first beginnings of disordered movements in your soul. That's going to be critical. So I'd really recommend frequent confession for that reason. The best things to do when you have no plans yet, well, I'm not sure what your aim is, but if it's just growing in virtue, then you should look for opportunities to practice the virtue most opposed to the vices that you feel you need to work through. Talking with your priest about this in confession is going to be the smartest thing to do. I don't have enough information about you to be able to give you responsible advice, but in general, that's what I would recommend. And make sure you're also making progress towards whatever kind of career that you think is going to best utilize your skills to be able to support your wife and family later on. Great comment though, and a lot of guys are in that situation. Okay, let's get on to the next question. Great content as always, spot on. Thanks for watching, Ross. The whole point of the channel is that the content is what you guys want because it's based on your questions. So make sure you're still leaving those comments day by day, and the content's going to stay great, exactly what you guys want to watch. Question from Jack. Can you talk about managing a pregnant wife's emotions and physical fatigue? Entering into the second trimester, she is more sad in general, very fatigued, has more headaches, and more often nauseous. I am struggling to find ways to cheer her up and find ways to take things off her plate. We have gotten medical advice, and they don't have any particular diagnosis or see any issues with the pregnancy, but just generally attribute it to pregnancy. Yeah, this is a tough one, isn't it? Because There's actually no way to make many aspects of pregnancy comfortable. They are just difficult. And this goes all the way from conception right up to the actual process of labor. Most women find various aspects of pregnancy uncomfortable at pretty much every stage. So, best thing to do there is don't fall into the trap of thinking there is a way to take some of them away. Instead, what you have to do is just sympathize with her, validate the emotions and the suffering that she is going through. And there might not be a solution to some of it. You say you're struggling to find extra things to take off her plate. That's okay. Maybe everything is off her plate at the moment. A big one, by the way, I don't know your situation, but for a lot of guys, if the wife is still working while pregnant, that is often a big problem because it's draining, it's stressful mentally and physically. So if you've gone down the list of taking things off her plate and you talk with her as well about things that she's finding especially draining, and pretty much most things are gone, except the fact that she's still working outside the home, then that will be the big one, in my opinion, to find a way to remove. And that obviously means that you as a man might have to step up in some ways to make that possible. So just making sure that isn't the elephant in the room. It could be, for many guys that it is. If she is working, that could be the biggest stressor in her life. With the fatigue, make sure that she's getting plenty of opportunities to nap throughout the day, making sure she's feeling fully rested. Also, pay particular attention to nutrition as well. Sometimes some more snacks or hydration throughout the day can really help. You can look into supplements as well. It sounds like you have covered most of those bases with the doctor, so there probably isn't a lot of that left over. In which case, just don't forget little things like having fun experiences with her still, encouraging her to enjoy herself, make an extra effort to go for a few dates still. Sometimes women get a bit down about themselves, especially physically, because of the changes that are inevitable during pregnancy. So finding ways to make her feel attractive still, comfortable in her skin, enjoying the outfit she's wearing, that can really do a lot towards helping her self-esteem. Great question. That particular situation is one that I'd need to know a bit more to be able to help you with more. Exactly what is she struggling with? You should find out from her. Then we can give you some more feedback. And next one, we've got good comment from Peter Houseide. He says, my kids have learned to control their intake of games and screen time. This is with reference to the video from a couple of days ago about whether or not games should be completely banned. Yeah, it's great. Some kids are going to do that. Others aren't. You have to make a call as the father who knows his kids best. Next question from Pedro. He asks, we're expecting our first baby, but we don't have any strictly Catholic family or friends to be godparents for baby's baptism. How would you approach this situation? Pretty simple. I would befriend people in your parish. So just talk to people at Mass and then get people to actually fulfill those roles for you. It doesn't matter that you haven't got strictly Catholic family or friends to be godparents. You can find godparents at Mass in your parish. And that basically means making some new Catholic friends. I think that is the smartest way to do it. That's how I would personally approach it. That's what you've asked, and that's what my answer would be. Okay, let's keep going up the list. Alan asks about recommendations for jobs or worthwhile endeavors outside being a student to build character and earn income. Well, this is going to depend on what your actual skills are. Just apply for different jobs that you think you can get based on your skills and also maybe areas of your character where you want to improve. So if you're the kind of guy who struggles with physical labor, for example, and you want to toughen up a bit, you could choose a job to work on that weakness. If the main goal is income, then obviously you want to get the job that pays the most. Not really a lot to say about that, apart from those 2 points. Kind of obvious to me. I get that some people find this confusing, but those are the priorities, right? What are your skills? What weaknesses do you want to overcome? How much money do you want to earn? Just select a job based on those. Next one. Have you read all the books behind you that feature in these videos? What would be the top books that look into the importance of family and or marriage? And that comes from Barry Murphy. Good question. Yeah, so I've got a few books behind me. I actually rarely read books cover to cover because I can normally get most of the information that I need out of them for what I'm working on just from looking at particular sections. So I hardly ever read a book cover to cover, but I've read the important bits of most of the books that I have. That's why I got them in the first place. And that's really like a working library. A lot of people I know with lots of books tend to use them like that. And they're just reference points for me. I can join the dots between them for whatever project I need to complete. Top books for marriage and family. Obviously, as a Catholic, I'm going to say look in some of the Catholic marriage manuals. I think that's where you get the best advice. But also just some basic psychology textbooks would really help a lot of guys. In my experience, many marriage problems aren't really to do with theology or big points about feminism. Instead, it's just about psychological techniques for how to actually have proper conversations, how to handle conflict, and how to have better empathy. So pretty much any intro to psychology or how to make friends, how to influence people, that's going to be a great one to start with. Basic people skills. Beyond that, the Catholic marriage manuals for sure. Barry asks again, what are some of the best hobbies you can get into with your wife? Walks, sports, reading, any also that you would steer clear of? Well, kind of is the hobbies that you can actually fit into your schedule and you both enjoy. I don't really think that having shared interests is especially important in marriage. The data shows that it's not. Sometimes having really opposed values and clashing beliefs is a big problem, but you don't need actual shared interests. So if you have a hobby that you enjoy and she doesn't mind doing and thinks it's kind of fun to join in with, that would be a great one. So yeah, walking could be good for the physical and mental health benefits. Particular sports you might both enjoy, whether watching or playing, I can see that working, and definitely reading as well. So it seems like you kind of know the answer to your question. I don't think there's a specific hobby that is like banned, one to definitely steer clear of. Not sure where that worry is coming from. If it's just a normal everyday hobby, use your common sense, and you both think you get something out of it, why not try it? So rock climbing, for example, canoeing, whatever. Choose something that suits what you want out of it. Coconut drums. I'm a single Catholic man. I have a first date on Saturday with a Catholic woman I met on a dating app. What are the key positive and negative indicators I should look for to know if she's a good woman to marry? If I like her and we go on more dates, when would be the right time for our first kiss? Well, first of all, I would change a YouTube name. Grow up. Let's use your actual name. Now, how old are you? I don't know. How many dates you've been on before? I don't know. Positive and negative indicators. It seems like you are overthinking this massively. Do you like her personality? When you were talking to her, does the conversation flow well? When you talk about the things that are important to you in your life, and she does the same, can you see that there's common ground there? I guess there's plenty because you're both Catholic. So no real need to talk about much theology. Just talk about what you're excited about, what you're passionate about. And then let's see if she's also enthused about that as well. Hopefully that will be the case. And then that's a really strong basis for the friendship that is going to develop into marriage because your wife is going to end up being your best friend. So just keep it basic. What's her personality like? You think it's going to fit well with yours? That's priority number one. If you go on more dates, when will be the right time for your first kiss? There's no rule about that. Again, I think you're overthinking it. So you might kiss on your first date, and that's fine. It might be on your 10th date, and that's also fine too. It just depends. So don't worry too much about it. One Flew West asks, I'd love to know what I as a wife can do to support my husband in his role and also how I can improve my damaged sex drive. My husband was not taught to be a leader, and for many years I lacked desire for him. Now he is healing, but my body is taking a while to catch up. Hope this makes sense. It's hard to summarize such a complex time in so few words. Your videos are helping our marriage so much. Thank you. Well, glad to hear they're helping. That's the main point. So you feel like your sex drive has taken a big hit because of the past, and he was never taught to be a leader. He started to make changes, but it's taken a while for you to catch up. Well, I think first of all, actually tell him how you are feeling and what you need from him to actually make progress in this area. Communication is key. Keep it honest. Sympathize with the fact that it's probably not going to be great for him to hear and it might knock his self-esteem a bit, but it's more important for him to actually know specifically what's going on and what you need from him to be able to make this situation better. Communication is critical. So perhaps for your body to catch up, you might need a particular experience before you guys actually try to get intimate. And that might actually start long before the bedroom. So it could be a particular date night that you enjoy. It could be a massage, whatever it might be. Think what is going to help you feel more comfortable about this. If there's anxiety there, let him know why, what things make it worse, what things make it better. And for him, if he wants to accelerate his progress and find out some of the things that he might not be aware of that are holding him back from being able to improve the situation and lead better, then he can head over to patriarchy.com/start, join the group and learn a bit more of those leadership skills. But don't be afraid to bring this up to him, and you can actually praise him for making changes that you know are going to be beneficial, and also keep him informed about areas where you still see tons of room for improvement. A lot of women think they're supposed to keep quiet about this. I don't think that's a smart approach. It's much better if men know what needs to be done, because a normal guy is actually pretty keen to please, and if he knows how to get it done, he will. Many women make the mistake of thinking that the man is just going to mind read and then things will magically get better. That's often not the case. Rakesh pointing out the content is always good. Thanks for that. Thanks for watching. And then we've got a comment from Faithful451 about how gaming is an important topic. Thanks for weighing in. So many men I know treat video games as some kind of human right and get offended when I suggest they should do something better with their time. It's like they never grew up from being 17 years old. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be gaming, does it? It can be a really selfish, disordered attachment to anything that gives them pleasure. Part of becoming a man and leaving boyhood behind is recognizing that the way you spend your time shouldn't just be focused on what gives you selfish, often escapist pleasure in the moment. You have bigger things to focus on that fulfill you better and also improve the lives of the people around you. But yeah, it's certainly a worrying trend in the wider culture, isn't it? Couple more. My dad has been cohabiting for a few years now with a divorced overweight mum of triplets that are 16 years old. Before they bought a house together, I discussed with him how I didn't like her and her red flags. I believe he could have done so much better if he trusted in God's timing. She was the first woman he got with immediately after doing 10 years in jail. He has complained about her to me many times, and I hate to say because he's my dad, but he sounds very emasculated. Is it out of my place to at least encourage my dad to marry her so at least he's not partaking in the sin of cohabitation despite the fact that I dislike her? Or is it in place for me to do so that my dad's soul is not in danger? Or do I stay out of their business, continuing, leave it to God, and praying about the situation? Right, that's a pretty tough one. So what I think you should do there is, first of all, pray for him. But yes, when he complains to you, you should say, Dad, you seem like this isn't a great situation for you to be in. Do you want this to continue? Or do you think you should do something about this? Use questions to help him actually get more clarity about his situation. See what he says. And he might say, yeah, it needs to change. You can then say, I agree. I've noticed you seem quite miserable about this. It doesn't seem to have much of a future for me. What do you think? So use your questions to help guide him to the realizations that you actually know are there at the back of his mind, but he's blind to because of his attachment to her. Questions are a great way to get it done. You can actually control the conversation through your questions. And this isn't you being disrespectful. It's actually you respecting him by actually having the courage to speak up and help him to think it through. That's you being loving towards him. Couple more questions. Cooper, who wrote in about video games recently, has a long response here talking about how he sees the point of it being unjust to ban video games just because one kid finds it tough to be able to handle his use of them. And he says that he's worried that they can be especially addictive. And he says he is having suspicions about whether it really is a meritorious, virtuous use of time. Well, it sounds to me like you are wondering whether actually you should just ban video games outright because you have decided they aren't meritorious or virtuous. That is not what the Catholic Church teaches. It does not take that stance. So just realize that if you decide to come down hard on games and ban them totally, you are kind of out on a limb there. You have taken a viewpoint that involves a rule that needn't be there, and it might cause you problems. More problems than it's worth. So just recognize if you choose to do that, then you haven't actually got much backing on it. It's just something that's like a pet hate of yours, and you're trying to make sure that it's very strict. I'm not sure that's the smartest approach to take. All right, next one. Manuel Herrera asks how to navigate the changes that come with perimenopause and be the anchor of peace and remain calm. That's a good question. So we want to think mainly in terms of empathy, sympathy. Her hormonal environment is producing lots of ups and downs in her mood. It's very chaotic for her. It affects her brain, cognition, memory, everything. So a lot of things that to you might seem lazy or petty or irritating, if you remember and have empathy for what's really going on with her, it will be a lot easier for you to handle. You should look into getting some blood work done, see what's happening to her hormones. If things are falling wildly out of the normal healthy range, then something like HRT can make a massive difference to her anxiety levels, her mood, overall health. So that'd be the first step that I would take. And then after that, just talking with her about what she's finding tough, how things are going, and working together to get specific strategies to alleviate some of that distress and discomfort. So HRT first, and then proper conversation and you being empathetic and calm about what she's going through. Remember, it's not really about you. It's not personal. It's just something happening to her. Luke has a question here, kind of a long one, and it's basically he's worried to watch a film with his wife, even if it's just a pretty vanilla romantic comedy like The Notebook, it seems, like many romantic movies. He doesn't want to watch with her because he's worried of sex scenes in them. And he has almost a trauma response to the idea of exposing himself to the content. Now, I don't know what your religious background is. A lot of this comes from people just having particular personal takes on stuff and getting really obsessive about them. So the Catholic Church, for example, would not have a problem with you watching a romantic movie unless the scene is actually pornographic. So something like The Notebook, for example, or pretty much most romantic movies that a woman is going to want to watch with you aren't actually porn. So they are fine to watch. And if you are feeling literally sick just watching like a PG rated or a age 12 rated romantic movie, then that's not normal. And you got to think where that belief came from, and then you have to overcome it. This would be a coaching situation because I'd have to ask tons more questions to find out what you're really worried about there and why. But to give you a really quick answer, just use the actual age rating on the movie your wife is interested in watching as a gauge to tell you whether it actually is pornographic or not. I don't think she's going to be asking to watch anything pornographic with you. So just chill out, watch it. It's not going to be a big problem. And that's the answer to that. Most important things you need to know, covered there. Barry has another question. Advice for someone who grew up with little intimacy and physical relationships with the opposite sex, both in school and at home. How do you go about finding and setting boundaries? Well, first of all, you actually want to just start going on dates and having more interaction with women. If you've never had that much before, then just relax about it. Make friends, talk more, have conversations, have shared experiences. And then what I recommend for the boundaries is just have a look at the masterclass series on my main channel, which deals with what boundaries are, how to set them, why to set them, and work your way through that. And think about what you as a man are really about and how your boundaries are going to reflect that. I'm not sure exactly how you're using the term boundaries, but to put it pretty simply, unless you are married, then There's obviously a boundary against any sex before marriage, but most other boundaries really just pertain to the respect that guys have for themselves, dictating how they allow other people to treat them. So check those videos out. I think you find them really useful. Okay, so we managed to get through all the comments that have been left since yesterday. Hope you found a lot of that useful. Let's just finish with a quick update on the growth of our community on patriarchy.com. Short-term goal is 300 members. This is a place where if you've enjoyed this content, you can get more content that's similar but goes into more depth, helping you with practical solutions to however you want to grow as a leader in your marriage. So 251 members now, creeping up slowly. Let's keep it going. Patriarchy.com/start if you're interested in that. Don't forget, leave your comments and questions here on this video. Ready for tomorrow's video. Take care. See you then.